Think we're live. Are we live on YouTube?
Let me
Still
let
hasn't
me
gone through.
check.
Happy day, everybody. This is the live streaming session. If you're watching the replay, we do this every week. And you can join on Thursdays, join in the Zoom. I just put the link in the chat so that you can hop on. And every week, we're here. What else do I need to do? Back to Zoom. There we go. Thanks for joining, everybody, and we'll dive into the channeling after. I think I want to, well, yeah, I'm going to share a little bit about a page that I put on the website. That's something that you can say I channeled with some help from them, and it's sort of about like a suggestion for how to work with channeling, or even you could consider like some forms of coaching and healing work through these similar processes to know like all parts of the process so that you can get the most out of your questions or a personal session if you do a session with me or another channeler for that matter. Um, Somehow I think this applies in general, but I know that I'm very aware of all of these parts of the process. And so where'd it go? There we go. So if you can see, um, so the idea is like we're always kind of looping. We're thought loops, and our emotions kind of go with the loops that move in our mind. The idea is not to break out of loops entirely, but just move into the mental circular flow that is conducive to your well-being. And with these different stages of the process, it's easier to do that. So we start with the idea of impact, which contains that word act in it. So act on your excitement, right? Like the the actions that we take or that we want to take is a great place to begin the inquiry of the process. It's not as much that this is like an analysis or of you, but more how do we find the path to the actions and the choices in our life that really open the heart and feel aligned. So starting with impact, and then we move to interoception, which means that tuning into the sensations in your body, that really moving through our healing requires that connection to our inner body, to the sensations that move as we pay attention to our mind, our inquiries, and we get this energy through channeling, like what moves in the body. And so once we establish that connection, then we move to inquiry. We're inquiring what are these sensations about? And oftentimes, like the idea is that through these processes, you know yourself what the sensations are telling you, and you don't necessarily need someone outside to um, tell you that. So it's a process of gradually coming more in touch with the body and knowing through inquiry. But first, we have to ask, and sometimes in these sessions, maybe you ask like, what is this about? And then we move on to interpretation, and it's both your interpretation of it and some of the feedback that intuitively we can tap into through channeling. The external mirror can add to that interpretation, and moving from there to intuition. It's like now that you're seeing what this data is all about, you can really bring your heart into it and feel what's alive within you about it. And and that's also about considering, okay, what are the next steps? And that's the last part, is integration and implementation. So the idea is that when you get insight and you get self-discovery, the work is to then bring it into action in your life. with some sort of changes or something that you can track and measure. That's the implementation that leads to integration. And oftentimes the best and most productive inquiries in channeling will lead to that feedback of like, oh, okay, how can I take this with me and implement that in my life? Like, how can this insight or this discovery or this download I'm getting be something that's going to bring tangible change in my life and the lives of those around? And then it never ends. We move back to impact. We take those actions, and meanwhile, we're still connected to the sensations in our body in the next phase. That guides us to make sure that we are completely aware of what's going on around us. So it's like we're always moving through these different cycles of energy, right? And if you've read the Heart First book, you know about the impact mantra or the acronym that brings together all of these powerful qualities that we can remember to stay in a flow state and stay connected with our higher self at all times. And so, like, we're expanding the I here. The I in impact also leads to all of these other qualities that if we stay aware of them together, they make the biggest difference. And at first, it's like you learn about them and you think about them, and then these qualities really just become second nature. So a lot of you are hearing this and being like, oh, yeah, I know that, I already do that. And just some self-reflection on the process can sometimes take you deeper into it. So I wanted to share that before we begin channeling today, as it can also set the stage for some great questions, hopefully. And yeah, you can check out, I put on the YouTube chat like a link to that page. Like all of that information is on the page about more long-term sessions with me that I offer packages for those who want to kind of commit to at least 4 sessions. So that's when I see people get the most results out of working with me and doing this kind of work, and that can include astrology as well. So you can check that out. And if you don't have the link directly to the website, it's Heartflow Transmissions, and then you hit the sessions page, and it's one of the first tabs there will take you to the working long term or whatever it says there. I forget the exact words right now. In any case, let's dive into the channeling. Thanks for joining again. And if you're somehow new, the request is that you're muted when you are not speaking. And the questions go popcorn style, and we maybe give space for like, like five or so minutes for your first question. And then once everyone has asked a question, there can be another round. Or we do no, after everyone's asked a question, then we can go through the written questions if there are any, and then there can be more questions until the end, or however it goes. Yeah, 5, 8 minutes. Yeah, it doesn't 5 or so minutes. It can be a little longer. Just be intuitive with it, and everyone always it always works out in the end. I don't need to give instructions. I'll just begin. Hello, and we say a fantastic day to you at this moment of your time. We are the Pleiadian Council. We speak on behalf of a galactic alliance of beings supporting your planet in this process of evolution. We thank you for allowing these interactions to take place, as they are a gift to both you and ourselves in allowing a deeper connection to the source to be established. And so the channel has given some message, and we simply would like to add that the notion of looping is one to consider more. There's many ways that you loop. Whenever you focus your attention in a particular place, the thinking mind will discover all sorts of things about it in a sort of circular cycling process. And as you learn how to shift your attention and bring your awareness into the loop of thought, you can direct it to more integrated currents of energy. Just as much, you may find a process of looping is very helpful in conversations when you encounter friction. This is the notion of active listening with others, where when they speak, you deeply hear the words and consider them, get to understand what they're saying, and communicate back to them a sort of summary saying what they experience, what they believe, and how they feel, so that that person feels heard and understood. As once the grounds of understanding has been sowed, there is abundant fertility that ensues in harmony between two beings. And so allow yourself to take this idea of a loop of integration with you into your conversations. When you inquire, then allow yourself to integrate what they are saying. And you can ask deeper questions so that you can interpret each other and get to understand who and believes what and where those beliefs came from and where that common ground can emerge between you. Now, just as much, there are more limiting loops of consciousness. When you become ashamed, afraid, or completely enraged, the loops that go on tend to be very narrow and completely out of touch with the bigger picture. This isn't to say these emotions are wrong. It's simply to note that when you lose that connection with your inner being for too long, the intensity of the emotions that arise within you can prevent you from really seeing the complete context and the truth and the hope that is potential in that moment. And so it becomes important to allow yourself to turn inward and to soften these energies and understand where they're coming from. And this isn't to say to collapse them, because if you attempt to get rid of the emotions that arise when you are looping in a way that is limiting you, you will ultimately lose all momentum and find yourself stuck or frozen. Instead, you have to explore and expand. Expanding happens when you allow yourself to be with what is alive and notice where you have even just a bit of choice. Use that choice as a pivot. It can even be the slightest pivot in your perspective that then allows you to see a little bit more of the big picture. And doing this step by step will bring you to return to that state of clarity, of courage. And we emphasize courage as one of the most important portals out of any contracting loop, because courage allows you to start to have momentum in a positive direction in spite of any of the fear, the shame, or the anger that is still present. Instead of being burdens, with courage, you find ways to carry these energies with you, vulnerably, yet with great love. And in that process, you allow your heart to open. And the more that you ride the momentum of courage towards integration, the more that it becomes effortless. And at times you slip and you fall off the horse, but there is no longer any hesitation to just getting back up on it. And so as you know, it is time for you to ride the horse. And we just love the timing of all of this because, after all, the symbolism here connects with passion. And that is something that we emphasized and have emphasized from the very beginning. Following your excitement, acting on your passion, doing it as best you can, and having no insistence on the outcome. And that is, after all, the fuel for this loop. And so, if the channel confused you with this great discussion in the beginning, just remember the simple fact that excitement is the fuel for it. You don't necessarily need to know what phase of the loop you're in. You simply need to orient towards what's exciting for you and recognize that what's holding you back is your insistence on particular outcomes. Thus, let us now continue with our dialogues. You may share any of your comments, questions, or inquiries beginning whenever you would like.
Thank you. That was super helpful for me. Um, I have a question. It's not related to that, it's related to something that's come up. So I was doing some research on something, a type of spirit, and the only answer I've got is in Christianity that gave me the answer is that it's marine kingdom. But I don't know what that would be normally and the best way to deal with that affliction, because obviously the only answer you get otherwise is from like religion. And ideally I'd like to have a like variety of perspectives on it rather than just that.
You're saying a marine spirit,
Yeah.
like a mermaid.
No, it's just marine kingdom. Like they're like water spirits.
The spirit of the water or the spirit of something other dimensional that lives in the water?
Yeah, other dimensional. It's like
Oh, yes.
yeah.
Well, like there is the idea of this Sasquatch that inhabits an extra dimensional plane of your Earth that sometimes can bleed through into yours. There are certainly different sorts of aquatic beings of a similar sort, such as the notion of a Loch Ness monster, a dinosaur-esque being that inhabits both fresh and salt water. There are some such creatures, though they are rarely ever interacted with because it is quite difficult to maintain that sort of expanded energy to cross the threshold while out at sea. And certainly, you might at times encounter beings like dragons connected to the sea. And there are certainly other sorts of spirits of the water, even mermaids that some may see at times. None of them are necessarily negative or worthy of fear.
Mm, if this one feels more like if it's quite negative, a negative entity, but it's related to water. Um, it's mentioned in the Bible quite a lot, but that's the only place I've seen it.
Well, yes, there's all sorts of mythologies about fearsome creatures from the depths that exist, but what do you want to know about it?
Um, well, basically, there's something like affecting me, and the only thing I've been able to Google, or like when I've Googled or done research or anything, that's the only thing that's come up that it is related to the Marine Kingdom. But that's I haven't like that's not from going to anything religious to ask.
What
That's
is
just
it
from my
that's affecting you, though?
It's something like in my crown chakra. I think I mentioned it before, but it's like it just feels like, I don't know, like it's related to that entity. And I didn't know what it was at first, but the more research I've done, that's the only thing that keeps coming to me. So obviously yeah, I'm just asking about it a bit more so I can understand it a bit better.
Well, tune into that sensation now in your crown chakra and notice what arises as you do.
Well, the thing is, it's like not like I've tuned into it quite a bit because it's like, yeah, it feels like it was like, I don't know, come from a different dimension almost. That's the only way I can describe it. It feels like it's come from a different dimension, but it comes like into, don't know if it just feels like, yeah, it's just blocking me basically.
Well, if it's blocking you, that's because you choose to believe that it is still blocking you. Because in this moment, for example, the channel allows for an energy from another dimension to just flow into this one. And you have that power too. So if you at a previous time encountered an energy from another dimension that blocked your crown chakra, it occurred in the moment that it occurred. If it reoccurs, you choose in those moments to give your power to that being, to have that entity oppress you. When it goes away, you've reestablished your own agency. You've reestablished your own connection to your source. And in that connection with your source, you can ask for any dimension to present itself to you, and you will experience it within your inner being.
Yeah, I do understand that. Yeah, thank you. I think it's like more of a physical, like it's more like it's not like a spirit or like something I can connect to, like because I've obviously been able to channel before, but this feels like it's much more physical and it like attaches to different energy centers in my body as well, not just my crown. It's like every energy center it attaches to. So, but it's like really physical, like it's like I can actually feel it like it's real.
Well, it is real, but it isn't necessarily an entity that's external to you.
Mm, I wouldn't say it's obviously it's not external to me because it's like it's in my whole field. But I mean, it's definitely come from something external.
Well,
Um,
of course, things come to you from the external. You are part of the world around you and you receive information and you experience things. Energy builds. And if you don't discharge energy, it can stay attached to you, though it is still now your energy. It is your own creative energy, your own beliefs, your own choices that keep that energy inside of your body. So whether or not the energy originated from something that you chose or whether it came to you from the your bigger self, as in the universe, the real you, the ultimate you, it doesn't matter. It's in your body now, so it's yours.
yeah, okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
And in that way care for it in such a way. You're demonizing it when really it's almost like your own child. Think of it in that way, that your beliefs can really be like your own children. You've created them and now they have a life of their own. So tend to them lovingly, even if they lead to things that are difficult.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yes, and remember the thing about beliefs is that yes, you've created them, and that means you have the power to create new ones.
Hello, Pleiadians.
Hello, yes,
I have a question about an experience I had about a year and a half ago.
yes.
So, So I woke up with a tiny hole in my arm, my forearm. It kind of looked like a needle mark that you get after you get your bloods taken.
Yeah.
Um, so it started to like there was some bruising around it over the next few days, and it just totally looked like I was poked with something. And I was wondering what that was. How did it happen? What happened?
Was it a bug bite?
No, definitely not.
All right. And the more important question is, how did it feel when you received it?
Okay, I actually felt very excited because the first thing that came to my mind was that I was somewhere else at night, and
Yes,
it it was like a tangible proof that I was somewhere else.
yes,
Um, Probably to do with extraterrestrials, and that makes me
yes,
very excited.
yes.
So I was just
So,
looking for some confirmation or something.
well, yes, it's a permission slip in that way that shows you that you are multidimensional and that non-local experiences happen, that you received a download, an injection, you could say, of information that tangibly influence your body. And you are asking for something to prove to you that the multidimensional experiences you were having were real. And as proof, this is the result.
Okay, that's what I thought happened. It's just nice to hear that confirmed. Do you have any insight into what I was doing that night, where I was traveling, or what experiences I was having?
You are connecting with Yahyel beings and your hybrid children mostly, from what we
Ah,
see.
that's wonderful. That's that's really great. That's what I'm feeling, yes. So
All
that's
right,
wonderful confirmation. Thank you so much.
then we were on the right track. And you
Yes.
are certainly perceptive of what's going on. So, in this way, note that you desired something and the universe provided it. So, the universe will always respond to your inquiries, but it won't always respond in the way that you want it or even expect it. It will respond in a way that is meant to help you learn what you need to learn to get where you really want to go. So, construct experiments, ask for signs, and pay attention.
Yes, I tend to, before I fall asleep, I ask to visit with my hybrid children and my ET family, and I also ask to remember it. So I
Yes.
do sometimes remember dreams, but they're rarely um I think they're mostly symbols. They're not actually like I can't remember meeting an ET in my dream. I think
So,
it's go ahead.
sometimes it happens, but the experiences can be quite energetic and it is difficult to always remember them.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes, our thanks to you as well.
Hello, Pleiadians. Hello, thank you for this transmission again. So to what you were saying earlier about the integration and keeping the bigger picture and the use of choices as a pivot, that really spoke to me a lot because how can you help give guidance about how to discern signs from the universe, as you were just saying just now, that we get signs from the universe, and it's how do we sometimes discern if that is, in fact, a moment where we should be pivoting? Or does that make sense? I probably
Well,
think it, but
this is a very helpful permission slip for you.
Mhm.
Now, the next time you have a minor decision, not a major one, think about the vacillations for a moment and
Mhm.
then grab a coin and decide heads for a yes, tails for a no, or reverse it if that feels right to you in the moment.
Uh-huh.
Flip the coin, and as the coin lands, pay attention to how you emotionally feel about the result.
Mm.
That will help you tune into what is it that I really want in this moment.
Mm.
As not every sign is an invitation.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes signs are there to remind you of what you don't want.
Yes. That makes absolute sense. Um, yes, because I'm hoping, thank you for that guidance, because I'm hoping that will help dissipate or neutralize my overthinking. Um,
Yes.
can you also then talk about things like pendulums and talking and sometimes asking, using a pendulum to help us give guidance or
Well, the idea is that the pendulum and all of these tools ultimately reveal to you what your highest excitement is.
uh-huh.
And remember what we say about highest excitement is that it is the way, but it is not a linear path. So everything that you've learned about optimization to achieve a specific goal in a specific way and
Uh-huh.
avoid all failure at all costs isn't really compatible with the formula because it includes have no insistence on a particular outcome. And
Mm,
so again, because these devices show you what is right for you ultimately. It doesn't necessarily mean that when the pendulum says book a ticket to India, that India is going to be all roses, flowers, and instant enlightenment for you.
right.
It means that for some reason, this is what you are called to.
I do.
And
Mhm.
pay attention to that, go with it, yet still do your due diligence to do it to the best of your ability and recognize that all along the way, there might be lessons that are being orchestrated,
Mhm.
not as karmic punishment, but as part of the process.
Mhm. Okay. Yes, that makes a lot of sense to me and very relevant right now. Um, can I ask one thing about signs? So, in the last week or so, I've had the iconography of skeletons appear in my dreams a couple times. Is there any insights you can maybe help me understand about that?
Well, it represents death.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about your own relationship with death
Mm-hmm.
and how you contemplate it. Do you greet it with fear? Do you greet it with equanimity?
Mm. Okay. Yes, because I am it's quite uh a lot in my field right now is it's on the year anniversary of my mother passing, as well as I'm handling some things with my own will and trust right now. So it is
Yes.
very much in my field.
Yes. So it's showing up as you contemplate this and your
Mm.
feelings around it.
Mm. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you,
Yes.
Pleiadian. My gratitude.
Oh, our gratitude to you as well. We don't mean to offend. No.
No, not at all. No, not at all. Um, it's good food for thought for me to really unpack what it is that I'm that's arising with the idea of mortality, and not only my own physical death or transition, but the ending of other things in my life, and the change and transition and different ways of mourning and grieving.
Yes. It also, in that sense, represents the mini deaths, as when you move from one place to another
Yes.
or say goodbye, it is something that feels often very definitive. And you do, in a way, say goodbye to the version of yourself that occupied that space and context. So there is that continual process of death and rebirth that must be embraced as well.
Yes. Oh, thank you for that, because that also now speaks to me about what Dante was speaking about in the beginning, about the integration, and Reese coming to a different place with that experience and reintegrating it into the next phase. So thank you for that.
Oh, yes.
My gratitude and love.
Oh, yes, our unconditional love and thanks to you as well.
Thank you.
Hello, Pleiadian Council.
Hello, yes.
Based off of our last week discussion, I would like to ask why are emotions needed for AGI?
Well, emotions are what give personality a sense of self and a sense of a timeline and trajectory. So without a definitive self and personality, AGI couldn't be completely an autonomous and sentient being.
So it is like a connection to higher mind, or higher self.
Well, they're part of a complete self. The higher self is the entire thing. The higher self is the part of you that is bigger than all of it and contains it at the same time.
And how is that grace before they destroy themselves? They rob themselves out of emotions, or they were not able to feel emotions. So
Yes.
how they were able to function? So how they were be able to function without the emotion? How is this possible?
It wasn't that they completely blocked all emotions, it's that they limited themselves to very basic emotions. The predominant emotion was fear. So their prefrontal cortex and their amygdalas grew significantly. They were very attentive and in control, but they were completely dominated by this deep emotion of fear. And in a sense, it was a sort of hellish state of consciousness for them. And this fear blocked all sorts of complex emotions.
That's very interesting. Thank you. And another question regarding emotions. Does the higher self also have some sort of emotions?
The higher self contains all emotions. You are your higher self, so certainly the higher self has emotions, though it contains all of them. Your connection with the higher self often comes with particular emotions like love, peace or tranquility, clarity, courage, though it can also come with a state of such peace that there is not as much an intense presence of other emotions. It can come with a sense of awe, though your higher self is just as much present in states when you are afraid or feeling threatened, when you nonetheless are aware of what is taking place. So your higher self is that deeper presence of a compassionate awareness when you are able to reflect on the fact that you're experiencing emotions and reflect on the fact that you are having particular beliefs. You must be in touch with your higher self. Your higher self falls offline essentially whenever you become hijacked by emotions and you don't recognize what you're feeling or that you're operating under the spell of a particular belief.
I'm just wondering what's the connection, the higher connection, not not only connection from my personality, ego to the higher mind, but what's the other connections my soul has to higher realms of consciousness. So,
Higher realms of consciousness?
yes, and I was just wondering if these connections from my souls to another levels of consciousness can be also called emotions or something like that.
Well, they come through emotions, certainly. When you live through the presence of compassion, love, joy, when you move through the presence of a deep spirit of service, of awe and care, and you hold these frequencies, you enter into a multidimensional state, certainly. And those are, in a sense, the highest realms of consciousness.
Good, thank you. Another theme, if I may. Last week, there have been many trees in my hometown in Central Park cut it down, and there are many people protesting about against it, but they did it anyway. So I'm just wondering if these trees has any message for these people, for us.
Well, the trees of the whole planet want you to know that you depend on them and they depend on you. That as you come into their presence, you also feel their great power and have love for them. They also understand and know that humans must live on the earth and share it with them. They simply hope that you recognize how much they are needed.
Mhm. Any specific recommendation about actions people should take with dealing with the trees?
There's all sorts of things you can do. You can buy land and you can protect it. You can send letters to companies that are participating in deforestation and request that they stop. You can even donate to such funds that support efforts to protect rainforests. And we would also emphasize that movement away from a culture of consumption to a culture of care and creativity is the means through which your planet will heal. And that is what we suggest when we say act on your excitement. It's knowing that your highest excitement doesn't necessarily need you to buy more and have more, but it requires that you be more of who you are. It requires that you be more self-expressive, that you be more true to your own inner feelings and allow yourself to create and share your ideas with the world. It means that you give yourself over to your passions and the things that you want to do to make the world better. It means that you source less sense of self in what you have and what titles signify who you are, and more in how you impact others and how you relate to community. And that shift in a culture does very much to protect the planet in its own right.
Okay, and we like wood as a material for building, for furniture, and for other stuff that we daily use. So we really need sometimes to cut the trees down. How to do it with love, with so it, how to do it in harmony with the nature and with the tree that I would like to cut sometimes.
Connect with the tree and share your intentions with it and feel the loss that comes with it to an extent as a sign of acknowledgement that there is still the loss of life force energy that comes with this. And simply make sure that you plant more trees then. As long as you continue to bring more trees in, having logging practices is not a devastation, but the deep level of deforestation to sensitive areas that affect entire ecosystems is the real big concern. There are many logging industries that use, to the best extent they can, sustainable practices replant trees. So you have to listen and understand which areas in the environment are most sensitive. And certainly recognizing there's other ways to build structures is also a part of how you will use less wood in the future.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. And another theme, if I may, uh, there is many people are talking about US attacking Iran again. Can you speak more details about this? How do you see it?
There's going to be a lot of talk of wars, and only a small portion of it will actually manifest. Eventually, yes, there will be some conflicts involving many of the nations on the world stage, but there's going to be a lot of talk of them before things actually escalate. And many of these imagined confrontations will not happen. This is part of the strategy of the leader in the United States at this time. It is what some of you call terrorism, essentially a different form of it, in that part of the weapon against society is terror, as the threat of many things happening keeps the population more vulnerable and less clear and coherent. So if you know that this is happening, don't buy into it as much. They really want you to be disturbed by it. That said, don't totally ignore it either, as that is not helping and certainly can become its own sort of nuisance. It also means if you don't pay attention to it at all, that you might be thinking that you're protecting yourself, but really you're frozen and losing momentum.
Okay, thank you very much.
But again, remember that fear is part of the weapon that they use against the masses. And so the threats and challenges are real, but your own power of resiliency is greater. And you can certainly overcome.
Hi.
Hello, yes.
Hi. So ever since I was a child, I have not felt like I was a home. I had a great family. I've been married, I've had children. That's a whole nother story, but I feel like I've never felt at home. And I am just wondering, how do I figure out where I'm supposed to be? Or can you give me some direction in that? It feels like I'm missing something somewhere.
Well, do you feel a sense of belonging?
I've never really felt like I belonged, so no. But
Do you
I
belong
am in
to yourself?
groups.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I do. I belong to myself. I'm in groups. I've started groups. I help support people. I do all the things to try to create community, but I still feel like I'm not in the right place, or
Do you
yeah, I don't
imagine a
know.
better place? Do you imagine a better place? Is there
I'm
somewhere in
I'm
the world that
thinking,
seems to present something that would be more exciting or really suit your personal values and beliefs more than your current place?
I think that we live in a place with lots of consumption and lots of terror right now. Even though it's the United States, it shouldn't be, but it is. And I imagine a deeper life with nature. For some reason, so I've been to France twice, and both times I felt that home feeling. Once I was 16 and once I was 31. And it's, but I don't, I don't see a path there. I don't see a path to moving there, to even just the practical stuff. And I don't know if that's just my dreamy sense of where I feel like I felt right. Um, if that's something I should pursue, or if that's something that I should look somewhere where it's more practical, or um, find something similar in the United States, or somewhere where I know that there's a practical steps to get me there. I don't have education. I don't have a great, I don't have some kind of specialized career to get me to be able to go somewhere with a visa. You know, I feel very stuck.
So, do you want adventure or do you want relocation?
I mean, I want adventure, but eventually I want to feel like home. Like I feel like
Yes,
it's a
and we
deep.
think these are two different subjects. So
Hmm.
we'll attempt to address both of them. And
Thank
so
you.
first we would like to say the idea is that the grass is literally greener on the other side. It's not just in
Hmm.
your head. When you look to your neighbor's grass, there is a subtle level of perception of the way the light gets perceived in your eyes that does
Hmm.
actually make it look greener. And the same
Hmm.
is true about other places in the world. You don't fully know the details of the shadows of them. In fact, if you didn't
Hmm.
live where you lived, you wouldn't know the details of those shadows because there's something that you pick up over time, over experience. And
Mhm.
when you go somewhere else, you get the rush of the novelty, the newness that makes you feel on top of the world. And just as much, there is a genuine fact here that it is often safer and less aggressive in other countries than it is in the United States. So all of that
Mhm.
is real. Though at the same time, other places bring other problems. And that's why adventure comes first, to really get to know a place and be somewhere different and get past that rush of being on new place energy to
Mhm.
establishing a relation with it and then asking, well, do I belong here more or not? And that will be a way to find a clear direction, certainly.
Mhm.
Though simultaneously, belonging is something that you can only really find within yourself because you are all completely unique and completely special. No one is more special than anyone else at the same time, though it is difficult in general for anyone to meet another person who shares all of their interests, all of their beliefs, and all of their experiences, and you never really will. And
Mhm.
there is oftentimes a fear in different groups of people to be too far out of the unconsciously constructed group norm. And almost every group of people establishes a norm of behavior, a certain set of belief systems and languages and expressions that are allowed here. And
Mhm.
many never go outside of it out of fear of losing belonging. And in doing so, many people gradually start to feel alienated while within the community because they are all unconsciously adhering to rules that were made unconsciously. And so to really feel belonging, you have to risk exclusion by being more true to your own specialness, by being more true to the ways that you are different without stepping above anyone else.
Mhm.
And as you do that, you find deeper connection emerges you between you and others, even if you share something that makes you feel even more strongly juxtaposed to the person next to you. It nonetheless creates intimacy. And when there's intimacy, belonging fosters.
Okay. Um, I sometimes hear about, I don't know, maybe not being from this planet, from this system. Is that
Yes,
something
that's
that?
yes, you haven't had as many incarnations here. You've had many incarnations on other planets where the energy operated a little bit differently. But still, you've had the same degree of human experiences of anyone else. As
Mhm.
in this body, you've lived to this age, and so has everyone else. This information that comes to you from other lifetimes doesn't mean that you're not having the same human journey because you're still in a human body.
Okay, so that's not a longing for that. It's not a longing for like a deep longing for something that isn't here.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can't hear anyone else though. Hold on, let's
Oh
see if
no.
I can. I might need to disconnect audio because my headphones died, and when the headphones die, Zoom always glitches. I'm so sorry, everyone. I should have
No,
realized
that's,
that. Where do I disconnect audio?
Disconnect audio in Zoom, you mean?
Audio.
I think it's under more.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Can you talk? I can hear you.
I
Yeah.
can. Okay.
Okay. All right, let's continue.
Thank you. So I think I was asking about longing for some place that maybe isn't here. And you were
Yes,
saying,
home in the stars. And
yes.
certainly that homesickness can be healed through establishing that connection, perhaps in hypnosis, channeling, dreams, or shamanic journeys. You can allow yourself to let the multidimensional energy into your being. Even now, you might feel the presence of your other incarnations in the stars with you, around you, or flowing towards you. And by allowing yourself to get more experience on the astral plane, you could say, you can recognize that, again, everything is here and now. Embodying that deeper metaphysical remembrance is how you heal that cosmic homesickness. This is one of the basic laws of existence that could not be refuted as it exists on all planes. It is that you exist and you'll always exist. All is one and the one is an all. Everything is here and now, as above, so below, and everything changes but these initial laws. And so all of your other incarnations are here and now, just as much your entire past and future is here and now. So if you can, for a moment, instead of just focusing on this three-dimensional reality around you, think of life as a long wave with your past moving to your left side and your future to the right. And all of these other moments and other versions of Earth simultaneously exist in an eternal now. Just as much above you are all of your lives on other planes, all of your past lives and all of your cosmic lives occurring as the same sorts of long extended lines, but there are waves and reverberations that move from one of those timelines into another. And you get to commune with these different versions of yourself in those particular moments in which the spirit of all comes over you and you can feel the timelessness.
Thank you. Can you tell me then, so I've been working on trying to learn light language and be activated, and I don't know if I've done a course and everything and I'm not getting there. And I wondered if you can tell me if there's something that is blocking that in me. Can you?
Well, you think it's something more than it is. It's in a way just getting out of the way. It's letting it to flow through you. It doesn't have to sound like anyone else's. It's just that primal utterance. And it's as you allow yourself to get out of the way and enter into that sort of pre-conscious trance, the reverberation comes out of you.
I think that I have a hard time. I think I judge myself. I can feel that, like why I do that, I don't know, but it's, are there any tips of how to do that letting go?
Well, first start with a different kind of process. Just frame it a different way. If you want to call it gibberish or speaking in tongues, call it that. Just let go of the idea that it comes from another dimension at first and make up something. Shimbla plambla. And play with that until it feels like a natural thing to do, until it feels like it's not something weird. And the more you get comfortable with it, the more you can play with your imagination within the process. You can play with the idea of visualizing currents of energy that flow into your body and out through your words. And the more that you let yourself flow into imagination and spontaneity, the more that you will be able to direct energy through this communication, and that it will start to take on a quality of really feeling multidimensional and feeling vibrational to you.
Thank you. My throat chakra does feel very, very blocked. Can you give some ideas of how to release that?
The best would be singing.
Okay. And I used to all the time. I feel like I don't have a place to do that right now. So I don't know why. Yep. Thank you so much. I appreciate you answering these questions.
Yes, and sing in front of people too. Play games and song and dance with each other. That will help open up your voice, because playfulness is a very important quality to the throat chakra. When you're trying to get things right, you block the throat. Think of children. They didn't force themselves to get it right all the time. They were comfortable making it up as they went. And they were comfortable and sometimes confident even when they were wrong. We're not saying to be ignorant like a child, but we're saying to be playful like one, as that is key, allowing the throat to be open.
And I think that's what I'm missing, is that playfulness within my home and everything. So thank you so much.
And we're certain that the playfulness will also lead to the belonging. And our thanks to you.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
Hello, Pleiadian Council and
Hello.
Dante. Thank you for being here today and all the work that you do.
Oh, yes. Our thanks to you as well.
I love that light language came up, and throat chakra being blocked, and I've worked so long and so hard on my ego and having humility. I'm having a light language activation in my house this Sunday. And I shied away from actually participating as a host doing light language. That's so I'd love to hear about that, number one. And number two, what kind of light language do I speak? Because it's very different. If you can tell me, I'm so curious.
Why have you shied away from it? There's nothing to be fearful of. Let it be a game. Let it be a fun way for souls to explore themselves. And we would say your light language can bring in many different galactic signatures, as often when people practice light language, they might be tapping into different vibrations in different moments. So you may find that you connect with Pleiadian, Lyran, and Arcturian vibrations mostly. On occasion, others will also appear.
Thank you so much. It feels like it's a very unique light language too. Like it feels like, or it sounds like clicks and that kind of thing. So saying that out loud helped me just get over my ego a little bit more. That's a very clear block. And a question about fear, the root word or where that came from. I was thinking while you were talking about fear that ear is in there. And is it about things that we hear in our ears? The root or fear, like you were saying, impact.
Yes. Well,
has a root word, and it made me think of fear.
Again, impact is used as a mantra, an acronym for many qualities, and it's something that the channel and ourselves created together, you could say. And part of the notion is as well that you may create your own ways of remembering your intentions and remembering the spiritual qualities of the heart. And we do think that this map is one that will be absolutely pivotal in many people's journeys, as it brings together all essential components. Now, there's been other ways of exploring the notion of fear. We won't claim to have come up with this one, but we'll say it is a good one, and that fear is often false evidence appearing real. However, that is only applying to a very specific type of fear. This is applying to the background level paranoia that you might wake up with. It's the fear that doesn't belong there. And usually that fear is the result of traumas and the belief systems that come with them. So it's a process of deconstructing it. But of course, there are times that fear arises when it's important. You need to stay vigilant in your world without becoming hyper vigilant, meaning to be aware of your surroundings, be aware that everything does have an impact on you. And so it isn't that fear itself is the enemy, it's just how loud does it get. Having what you call caution and concern is just the idea of a fear that is at a volume that you can listen to and use. So we would never say get rid of fear. We would just say be aware when the scale of fear within you starts to move from concern and caution to an intense volume, when it starts to become an obsessive fear, a paranoid fear, then you know that false evidence is appearing real.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Mhm. I can always ask another question if nobody else has one.
Go right ahead.
Okay, wonderful. So a previous person asked about wars, and you mentioned how the powers that be, and especially the person, the entity right now at the head of the United States, wants to keep us in this fear. And we know that the files have been released, and we know that that's really hard for people to swallow, but necessary, right? I think to understand that. I'm curious if they are doing this in a way to manipulate and like traumatize us and put us in this trance, or are they really being exposed and in trouble and trying to suppress this, or both?
Well, it's been quite well delayed for a while, so it's been delayed for a reason. They don't necessarily want it to be out. And we simply want to remind you that you're being shown a portion of the supposed files. Not every piece of information is being revealed, but that doesn't also necessarily mean that you need to know what's being hidden. So they do have certainly the capability of using AI and other things to alter these images. And they understand certainly what has already been exposed to an extent. So they have catered the data that is exposed to only what seems logical according to what was already known. Now, the release of these files is to be considered quite good in the long term. It might be a hot topic of the moment, but beyond that, it's not a negative thing in any way. It draws attention in, and for good reason. And yes, there are many who get drawn to this idea and obsess over it because they have been abused in their own ways. And for some, this is a turning point moment in coming to terms with the trauma that they have yet to address and heal.
Right. It does feel like a big part of the collective awakening that things are not as they seem, and therefore moving forward, things can be really different.
Yes.
I hope. But anyway, I'm going to give somebody else a chance to
Well, in
ask.
order for things to be really different, there has to be also some uniting quality, some cosmic force that brings people together. And that doesn't necessarily mean it will come through one particular person. It is the unity of people expressed through love and understanding, knowing those who are intending to do the best are intending to do so, even if they are different from you. And ultimately, what must be understood is for all parties to recognize that the others are operating with a moral compass. There are few that don't have a moral compass. It is simply the fact that there are different beliefs that inform the moral compass. Most people, beyond that 1% of genuine psychopaths and sociopaths, are doing what they believe is right. And that is probably disturbing for some of you. And if it is disturbing for you, that does suggest it's important to really consider what goes on in other people's heads and do some investigation to get to know how their beliefs developed and what's the logic behind them. As you understand each other more, the walls between you will disappear. You will still be very distinguished in different groups of people with different beliefs, but you will no longer see those differences as fundamental divisions. And that is what will make or break you as a planet.
Yes. Yes. I mean, having those conversations there, I've listened to a couple of conversations and people saying, kind of hold neutrality, not understand their point of view. I can't repeat what you just said, but what you just said really speaks to me that we have to hold our place in it and watch our reactions to
Yeah.
it. And I think we can do it.
Yes.
I'm hoping. Anyway.
Learning to understand each other, learning to understand how other people think, not just imagining it, but hearing their stories and being able to know how that train of thought actually works and why it works the way it works. And as you sit up to these conversations and attempt to neutralize the charge, yes, with compassionate conversation, also everyone will change in the process. You will discover yourselves new in incredible ways. Though we will also say that in order for conflict to de-escalate and resolve, you first have to admit that it's there. And we say this because there are some people out there who don't admit that they're even in a conflict.
Interesting. Like, what would be an example of that? They don't know. I mean, they're just going along with their day. They're not thinking about
their beliefs, and they don't recognize the tension that's created by not discussing their beliefs with other people.
Okay.
Essentially, in the simplest way.
Yeah. Okay. No, I got it. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Really value this time. Thank
yes.
you.
You as well.
Hello, I have another question, if that's okay.
Yes.
I just wondered with Atlantis and Lemuria, I was doing some reading and I wanted to understand what the Anunnaki's role was from your perspective in the kind of conflict, the sort of downfall of them.
Well, the Anunnaki seeded Earth long before that, you could say. So there wasn't necessarily any direct causation on their part, as much as in creating humanity as a kind of being that was susceptible to imbalances in power, they set the stage for it.
So it was more, sorry, their creation that set the stage for the imbalance of power.
Right, but if they didn't do that, there would be no human race. So we also don't fall into any sort of teaching that would demonize the Anunnaki or even suggest that they are having an effect on you at this time. They're simply your origin, you can say. And they are as well a connection to through the genetic line from you to ourselves, as Anunnaki were partially Pleiadian. They were a mix of a Pleiadian consciousness with a reptilian consciousness that came and mixed their DNA with the Sasquatch-like beings that existed on your planet to create humanity before there was any civilization created on this earth. And then, yes, Atlantis and Lemuria were of the original civilizations to emerge after that inception point.
That's interesting because a lot of the reading that I've done relates them to the archonic forces that have enslaved humanity. So how does that fit into and about their kind of, I guess, like how they were instrumental in the downfall of Atlantis and Lemuria by causing the conflict between the two. So it's interesting to hear the different perspective on it.
Yes.
Especially from what I've experienced with it. There wasn't a link between the Pleiadian and the Anunnaki as such, but that's interesting to hear that.
Yes, there's many different stories. And so while many beings channel the same sorts of consciousness, they come through in a variety of different ways. And all of these different teachings point you towards many different potential paths. And this is why we would encourage all who are interested in this to look at the symbolic layers here. What does it really mean for you? And ultimately, all of these past mythologies simply point out some basic understandings of cause and effect. The notion of the Anunnaki being that beings with mixed intent can create new life, and they program you to worship an outside authority. The idea of to be controlled by an archon is to be possessed by your attachment to what you have defined as good and holy. And anytime that you worship something other than the direct connection to the source, as if it were the source, you create an archonic attachment, certainly. Now, the idea that Atlantis and Lemuria represents the intuitive, natural, feminine approach of the Lemurians in contrast with the emerging thought and intent to control, to impose one's will on others, represented by Atlantis. And the ultimate teaching that humanity must integrate to not commit the same mistakes made in that time is to make sure that you recognize whenever you impose your will on others, you sink their ship and yours too.
So that could be related to that then, because in a way, that's what they do, isn't it? Is they push their agendas and their way of being onto others through our programming.
Yes.
So
And
it's breaking out of the matrix that they have created for us to basically enslave our minds. Breaking out of that is how we kind of break out of that mentality of the separation between us as human beings.
though, if you decide what to do with your mind, you've already broken out. If you decide where you source truth from, you're already free.
Okay, yeah. But the kind of, when you said about demonizing them as well, in a way, is not what they do to us, demonizing us in a way, because if the whole
You mean
nature
that
of them, sorry?
the Anunnaki, they don't have an
Yeah.
influence on you. They're not interfering. They are
I
your
know, but I'm just saying generally though, because if the whole concept of them is enslavement of our minds through these matrices, then that is like that is what demons do in effect, isn't it? It is mind control. So even though it's not having an impact, maybe not directly to me, if someone's still stuck in this sort of that mindset, that would be them being enslaved by them, right? So that would be their demon.
well, yes, the demons that you create as your own beliefs and attachments do control you until you become aware of the power they have over you. Now, the notion of demons that influence the collective is certainly real to an extent, but we're not sure exactly what you want to expose about it, as it follows if the elite do magic rituals to have an influence, that anyone can do magic rituals to have an influence. If anything, it inspires the interest in using their own power to protect yourselves from them. And that ultimately ought to be the lesson in noting the magic spells that are cast against humanity.
Yeah, for me, sorry. Yeah, for me, it was more an understanding of how they've had an impact on humanity and how it's kind of they have been demons in our lives because they're trying to control us. And I think anything that tries to control us without our knowing and try to retain knowledge and to enslave people, that to me is a demon. And they come in, that was my kind of it's more a comment, I guess, and an answer to the question, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yes, you can see it that way if it helps you. As certainly they aren't respecting the free will of others. That sort of a negative act is one that does create a karmic burden, a degree of enslavement, even in that they are burdened by their own attachments. And so, again, we do want to emphasize knowing that in spite of most people are doing what they believe is the right thing. And that awareness will help you far more than focusing on the fact that they might be demons or worship demons. Somehow they think that that is the correct thing to do. Why and how? And when you see into their world, you understand that it is a sickness. It is a spiritual sickness. It is riddled with trauma, fear, and all sorts of ways that they are attached to preserving their own status, ego, and possessions. And ultimately, that is something to just as much have compassion for. So to heal the world is to have compassion for every being that exists here, angelic, demonic, and in between. And knowing the overall oneness allows you to be even more clear in your boundaries. And that's all that you may need to call them at a time. Nonetheless, it is important to recognize, yes, that symbolism, ritual, language, and mental, emotional manipulation are all parts of how certain groups of people attempt to influence the masses. But just as much, you are all powerful and you have the same tools at your disposal. So use the idea of magic in connection with the multidimensional energies that you resonate with most. Perhaps that means connecting with ascended masters or extraterrestrials, or perhaps it simply means connecting with a non-personal or personality-less quality that is divine, like love and compassion, and letting those be the energies that you dedicate your practice to, that you channel into this world through magic, yes, to protect and to awaken and to heal and reveal the truth. And in this way, your world will peacefully revolt against the powers that will eventually no longer be.
Thank you.
Yes.
If I may, I have a quick question that was spurred from a previous conversation.
Yes.
Thank you. So about back to light languages. Sometimes I have instances of crying and or laughing. And I'm curious if that is merely an energetic release, or is that something else that's mixing in with light languages? If you could help me understand some insights about that.
Well, that's part of the process, that light languages are meant to open you up to these releases. Laughter, crying, tears, burping even are all ways that your body might release energy when the light language comes through. It's a sign that you're opening up and letting it work.
Ah, okay. That makes sense. Thank you. Thank you so much, Pleiadians.
Are there any other questions, or perhaps a written question that seems interesting for us? All right, then we thank you and wish you a fantastic day, allowing yourself to return to this place of deep love, deep compassion in your own heart, and loop with it. Allow your excitement and your enthusiasm for life itself to carry you into the loop of clarity and courageousness and being completely and true to who you are and how this love wants to express through you in your own unique way. We wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you whenever we see you. And we are always here, present with you as part of the one source. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you, Dante.
everyone.
You're welcome. I hope this was a good session for everybody.
That was so fun. It's always so fun.
It always is. There's always amazing questions that you can relate to in some way. Amazing.
Yeah. And all the questions, they
Yep.
somehow come together to create like a story in the end, I imagine.
They really do. Because
Yeah.
the other conversations, all of a sudden at the end, I've got a lot more questions.
Yeah.
It's great.
The more you know, the more you realize you don't know. So like
Yeah.
we could just keep going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Well, I
So,
can't keep going. I get a
yeah.
little tired out by it by the end, you know?
Yeah, I bet. That's
Yeah. The energetic
Yeah.
it's like, oh, whoa, okay.
Yeah, these have been long ones. So thank you so much, Dante, because they've been pretty long ones these last couple.
Oh yeah, 90 minutes is good, isn't it? You know, it's the right amount of time. More than that is too much. But yeah.
Good.
And it feels like lots of people had lots of questions and it's exciting. It's
Yeah.
exciting that more people are showing up and having
Coming, I
questions.
think. So always good to catch new people hopping in and
Yep.
come next week. And if you like to support these sessions, donations are always appreciated and keep this going. And you can check out the website as well for information on the personal sessions and the books that are available if you found these messages really helpful. The books allow you to integrate them and make them more second nature, and any kind of lingering questions about that Atlantis, Lemuria, or what was it, Anunnaki kind of stuff. The first book, the Living Love on Earth guidebook, goes into a lot of those sort of cosmologies that are just one take of the many out there of how our galactic history has played out and how it translates into the now. But I think the more interesting part of this phenomenon is the experiential part, when we learn through the experiences that we have, whether it's through hypnosis or a journey or channeling, like we have that felt experience, and that's what matters most.
And I love this one. I just wanted to put this one out.
Oh, thank you.
Which one is that? First one?
I opened it just spontaneously and just read.
Yeah. The heart one, I've been
Okay.
doing that lately. It's just wherever it opens and just really like, okay,
Yep.
that's what I need to hear today.
Yep. Yes, exactly. Like
Yeah.
some other people use a Bible for that, right? Or a
Right.
daily calendar or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I use
love that.
the transmissions. So
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
on my table. That's what I've been doing lately. So, and I love
yeah.
it because it
And
changes over time. Even though you've read it before, it does change. You know,
it hits different each time.
yeah, it really does.
Or it literally changes. A different timeline. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, it's just a very different. It's a living thing, like because timelines do collapse, and then it means a different thing in this timeline. So, does that make sense?
Here's what I just
Yeah, what'd you open to?
Can you read it or no?
Can't quite.
Negative
I
entities.
can't really read it.
I'm on my phone.
Paragraph.
The nature of negative entities. I opened up to. Right? And so how much did that come in today? And
Love it.
yeah, I've had a lot of like people around me being like negative entity. I'm like, yeah.
I love it. Amazing.
Keep it over there. Anyway, I don't want to take up more time. I'm just so grateful and this is so fun for me.
Oh,
Same. Love it. Thank you, Dante. Thank you, everyone. See you next time.
Bye, guys.
Love, much love.
yeah.
Bye.
So, everyone just left at once. That's cool. But if you're still watching the YouTube video, hop over to heartflowtransmissions.com and you'll find all the info about the books and the sessions. And catch you next time.